Hey, I'm Kristin,
And I'm Ashley.
and this is Locked in a Closet.
Join us as we tell each other stories of true crime, the paranormal, urban legends, and all things spooky. Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
Happy 1 year of this pandemic, officially.
Yay. What an anniversary. Oh my God.
Happy birthday, coronavirus. Yeah.
Oh, it's just horrible. I can't believe we're still going on.
Without the joke that I see everywhere that makes me laugh is like, happy 1 year anniversary to the 2 week lockdown we thought it would be. Like,
Yeah, literally I was looking because I remember my last day of like normal work at my office was March 15th. And I remember one of my coworkers, who I'm also like friends with, he sent me a text and he's just like, I have a friend that works like pretty high up and he just sent this text to me. Like, I just figured I'd let you know. And it was like, the prime minister is going to be making an announcement later on today. You should probably go to the grocery store and like make sure you have enough for about 2 weeks. And I was like, oh shit. Oh my God. Okay. So I like ran to the grocery store and grabbed everything like for me and for my parents that they needed, like anything that they hadn't had. And I was like, okay, we're good for 2 weeks. And then
yeah,
a year later, I'm like, okay.
I got a memory of, because like I remember hearing like, oh, this is getting serious, this is happening. And Jeff was in Colorado actually for work, and his boss was like, get home now. Like, he got an early flight for like, it was like a conference, and they're like, don't forget it, just come home. Cause like, I guess they were talking about closing the borders at that time. And so I was like, oh, and then we were going to have to quarantine because he was coming back from Colorado. Right. So I went out that night and I went grocery shopping, and I got a memory on my phone of like just the shelves empty. And like, we hadn't even gone into the quarantine officially.
Yeah, people were just panicked.
Yeah. And I was like, so thankful that I had just like stocked up on toilet paper like a month before.
Yeah.
And like, I got as much food as I could because we actually had to quarantine for the 2 weeks. But oh my God,
it's crazy, right? Like,
yeah,
you wouldn't think that toilet paper would be the first thing to go. Like, if none of us had lived through this, you would not think that would be the first thing to go. But now that we all have, it's like, okay, well, now we know.
Like, we know where our priorities are.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. It's so weird.
That was so surreal. Like, I understand it, but also at the same time I was like, why though? Like, why toilet paper? Why was that like the priority there?
Yeah, I don't think I ever had a hard time finding toilet paper because like normally we just buy stuff on Amazon and I would just like happen to get it like when it was in stock. But yeah, like there's been a couple things like rice for a while I couldn't find, and I was like,
oh my God,
anything, it's rice,
flour, like, yeast.
Yeah, like it was, oh my God, it was just annoying. Like, people just panic buy.
It was, and they bought so much, like, get what you need and don't be selfish. Like,
yeah, but you don't need like a year's supply.
Exactly. I mean, good for you if you still got toilet paper that you bought a year ago, but you really fucked over a lot of people who didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My God. I have some exciting news actually.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast, but my new favorite podcast is called Hey Babe. It's that one that like you always see on TikTok with like the Tupperware and stuff like that. I tweeted today because their episodes come out on Thursdays and we're recording this on a Thursday, and they retweeted it. And it just like made my day.
I don't Twitter, so I mean that seems like a big fucking deal.
Yeah, like I'm just starting to get back into it again. But like I just looked like 5 minutes ago and like the actual podcast page like liked it and retweeted it, and then one of the guys from the podcast also liked it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm famous.
Oh my God. So what did you tweet?
I just said like I tweeted like, or I retweeted their like I don't know, like announcement, I guess, that the episode was up, and I just said like Thursdays are my new favorite day. And then I'm so excited.
That like you're basically famous now.
Basically famous. There was something else the other day too that I tweeted. Oh, it was just like a guy that I watch on YouTube all the time. Michael and I watch him, and he hadn't uploaded a video for like over a month. And I just tweeted, I was like patiently waiting for a new Andrew Lau video. and he like replied to it, and I showed Michael.
Oh
he goes,
God.
"Oh my God, you're famous!" I was like, "Look at me!"
I literally never engage with like any creators because I just assume like they don't give a shit.
Yeah,
but maybe I should.
Yeah, it's really exciting when you actually get something back. I used to be on Twitter all the time when I was in high school, and then I was like, "Okay, this is stupid. Like, I literally don't care anymore." But recently, I've been trying to get back into it.
I never got into Twitter because I'm not funny. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more
like conversational. You can like crack jokes, but yeah,
I can't like sit there and think of something hilarious because it just won't come to me. It has to be in the moment. Like, so I gave up. I'm not funny in that way. And I want to be so bad. Like, I'll see like tweets all the time that people like screenshot or whatever. And I'm like, fuck, how is this generation and the generation after us? Like, how are they so goddamn funny? Like, I don't get it. It's not fair.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So I gave up on Twitter.
Yeah.
I do get like every now and then I'll get like a really good funny thing that I think's hilarious. I should have a Twitter just for that. Like, just for those moments. Like like, oh, there's one I've saved it in my phone, and this was because I was making tomato soup. Here's the backstory. I was making tomato soup from scratch. And I said, at what point does tomato soup stop being pasta sauce, or like vice versa? And I remember I like sent that to all my friends, and they were like, it's not that funny. And I'm like, it's hilarious.
Oh my
or like
God.
They were like trying to answer it like genuinely. They're like, I don't know, basil. I'm like, no, it's just a joke.
Like, I was just trying to be funny. Leave me alone.
I thought it was funny.
That's so funny. Have you seen those TikToks that it's like, you'll be sitting there and your wife's just like listening to a thing, like eating dinner, and it's just like her arms were cut off.
That's my favorite TikTok. His hands were cut off. We're just like,
so yeah. Oh, I love it. It's so good. Anyway,
just ingesting so much of that stuff.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so I remember last episode I had asked if you'd seen Murder Among the Mormons, and you were like,
yes.
Yeah. I watched it, and same feeling. I was like,
don't you like, you expect it to be like so good and like, oh my God, like it's gonna, but it's just this guy like tricking people.
Yeah. You know what I'm really tired of?
What?
And like Netflix is real guilty for this now. I'm tired of a documentary that could be like a single like hour and a half long, not these fucking 4 episode
they drag it out.
That's what I felt about Murder Among the Mormons, was like it just dragged out for 4 episodes or whatever, and it was like saying the same stuff over and over and over, and I was like,
just you know what, at the end of that one, like I couldn't even tell you what the guy's name was. Like I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Yeah, they're definitely playing into the whole true crime like phase.
Yeah, I think they're milking it, and like, don't get me wrong, if it's got enough information to be a miniseries, like hell yeah. But I just felt like that one could have been a single episode.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's other ones that it's the opposite. Like they make a documentary, and you're like, no, like I need more. I need
more. Yeah, exactly. Like all the old school ones, because that's what it used to be. Was just like a single movie kind of thing. And then I guess they would make like more movies. Like what's that one true crime you're really into? I always forget.
West Memphis 3.
Yeah, because there's like
they
6
have
different
Paradise
movies about
Lost
that.
1, 2, and 3, and West of Memphis, and there's another one too, I think. Now
that's the way to go about it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that especially with that case. Oh my God, we'll get into that eventually. I promise. Like I talk about it all the time, but
that could be like another like special we did, like with John Benet Ramsey. We could be like a special where we cover it together. Yeah, just because it is so.
There's so
big.
much to it. Yeah. And I have so many opinions on it.
And people just love to hear our opinion, right? That's why you listen.
That's why you're listening.
My husband was listening to I think it was the cult episode. And he was saying, he's like, you say a lot that you don't like religion. Like, you say it a lot. And I was like,
the cult episode, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, well, I really wanted to make it very clear.
Yeah.
But I was like, you're right. I probably should tone it down. It's never been my strong suit.
Yeah, subtlety.
Down. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So should we get into ghosts and ghouls?
Yeah, we should probably like introduce what we're actually talking about this.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Ghosts today, I guess.
Yeah, we're doing ghosties in the Yukon. Oh, side note. Isn't it weird to anybody else that we call it the Yukon?
Oh yeah,
I would never say in the Ontario. Like, no, like it's just so weird.
That's so true. Hey, like,
I wonder if it's because the Northwest Territories is
probably.
Like, I don't know. Anyway,
also
people call it Yukon, and I'm like, that's not. What is
it?
That?
Sounds weird. Yeah. I wanted to give you props for the title of the invite for this. It was like Ivana the Yukon, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot about that show.
That? Oh my god, I hated that show, but I watched it all the time.
That. I literally was just gonna say that I hated that show, but I watched that show. Like,
alrighty, do you want to go first this week since I talked your ear off?
I was gonna say I was a spectator last episode. Okay, yeah. So my story is like a little bit of a weird. It's definitely ghosts are involved, but there's so much more to it. And you would figure there'd be more ghost stories coming out of the Yukon, considering like the gold rush and all that stuff. And there probably is, but not a lot's like on the internet.
Right.
But yeah, so this story is interesting. And like it just got weirder and weirder the more research I did.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. So it's kind of like less of our traditional ghost story, and it's like more like history with ghosts involved.
That seems to be a common theme with the Yukon stories, because I like exhausted every single link on Google like to find the research for mine, and it was hard to find information.
Yeah. So speaking of exhausting links, I'll say my sources, and there's quite a few, because like to build this story I literally had to pick pieces of things from various articles, because there was not a big story. I guess there was a book that I saw, but I was like, I don't have time to buy and read a book.
We have like a week to
All right, so I got all my sources are an article from the Yukon Nugget by Les McLaughlin, a Yahoo News article written by Ilana Lev, a blog by Dennis McClure at chrisdennis111.com, info from caribouhotel.ca, a CBC News article written by George Maritos, an article from travelyukon.com, actually like 3 or 4 YouTube videos from CBC Yukon, an article from what'supyukon.com written by Ken Bolton, an article from the White Horse Star. I don't know why that was such a tongue twister. An article from the Yukon News written by Michael Gates, and then of course Wikipedia.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I am doing the Caribou Hotel in the Yukon. God, now I can't stop saying the Yukon.
Like you can't. It's so weird to just say in Yukon.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. All right, so from a Trump connection, talking parrots, ghosts, to modern murder. Honestly, this story is like a wild ride.
I am so excited. It was hard. A couple of the links that I had were trying to bring me to the Caribou Hotel, and I was like, no, I don't even want to know. Like, I just want it to be a surprise.
I know, when I read about it, I was like, I need to claim this one right away.
Yeah.
It's too interesting. So the Caribou Hotel, located in Carcross, Yukon, is actually a designated Yukon historic site that is over 100 years old, that popped up during the Klondike Gold Rush. Honestly, I love hearing gold rush stories. I don't know about you.
I know.
It's so fascinating. It doesn't feel real. It feels like a movie.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know about Ontario too much, but the gold rush is especially so much a part of the history of the West Coast, because it was all up and down from California to Alaska and stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
You really can't go anywhere in BC that and find a town that wasn't connected to the gold rush. Most of them exist because they popped up from people coming across Canada and then just creating these little settlements, or they're finding gold and then these little towns form.
I love that. That's so cool.
And if you're ever looking for that Wild West gold rush experience and you're in BC, I have to just tell people to go to Barkersville. It's an old abandoned ghost town, one of the ones that I'm talking about, where it popped up. Mm-hmm. But they turned it into this historic village, kind of I haven't been there, but I'm assuming it'd be the Upper Canada Village in Ontario, that, where they all dress up in period clothing and
love it.
Do things that are
you should go to
Upper
Canada Village. Just saying,
I want to. Yeah,
once the world opens up again.
But yeah, I remember going there. I've been there twice as a kid, and it was just so magical. Because then they have this thing set up where you go and pay, and then you pan for gold, and it's guaranteed you'll get little gold flakes. It's just
cute.
So much fun. Yeah. And it's haunted too. So maybe I'll cover it as a story one day. Anyways, I'll go back to the Caribou Hotel now. So originally the hotel was actually constructed in 1898 in Bennett, BC, which, like, looking on a map, it's like about 40 kilometers away from Carcross, like as the crow flies, like from above. I don't know about mountains, but they're pretty close. Like it's right near the Yukon border.
Okay.
And it was actually located near Frederick Trump's new Arctic restaurant and hotel, who weirdly enough is Donald Trump's grandfather.
Weird.
I had no idea that there was any Trump connection in BC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and and no surprise here, I said, his restaurant and hotel was actually a brothel for the gold miners.
Shocker.
Yeah. So use that information with how you please. I don't think anyone's surprised. I was telling that to Jeff, and he said actually at some point, I don't remember when, Trudeau gifted Trump a photo of his grandfather's brothel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I looked it up. There's a picture of Trudeau, and he's got this shit-eating grin, and he's like handing this picture to Trump, and it's of his grandfather's brothel.
I love
I think
it.
that's hilarious. So after the gold rush, the Yukon Hotel was then actually floated down the river. Another source I read said it was actually dragged along the river when it was frozen. They kind of contradict. Either way, the hotel was moved along, like it's like a river / lake, to its final home in Carcross, Yukon, and then it was renamed the Anderson Hotel. In 1903, the hotel was then purchased by Dawson Charlie, who he was actually one of the like main famous men who actually discovered gold in the Klondike. Like it was like his claim that like caused the whole thing.
Right.
So he bought the hotel and then he renamed it to the Caribou Hotel. I feel like I'm saying Caribou weird.
You didn't say Caribou weird, but you said hotel.
I know. I feel you know when you start to like hear yourself speak and you're like, is this right? Yeah.
Caribou is also just a weird word.
I know. So he renamed it to the Caribou Hotel. This part's kind of iffy because a couple different sources say he named it to the Anderson Hotel, but it was already named the Anderson Hotel and he changed it to Caribou. So like if that's wrong, I'm sorry. I think he named it to the Caribou Hotel though.
Okay.
I think it's been its name since then.
Okay.
So Dawson Charlie apparently had more interest in hanging out in the bar at the hotel with his friends than he did in actually running the joint. But apparently that wasn't all bad because his presence there actually attracted a lot of tourists and the hotel like prospered. People wanted to like hang out with the guy that started the gold rush. Unfortunately, in 1908, Charlie actually died, like they say, like suspicious circumstances when he fell off the White Pass Railway Bridge in Carcross. So who knows? Maybe he fell on accident. Maybe he was murdered. I don't know. But that's how he died.
Spooky.
Yeah. So Charlie's ex-wife then inherited the hotel after his death, but then she basically promptly rented it out to a couple named Edwin and Bessie Gideon. But sadly, only one short year later, the hotel actually caught fire and burned to the ground.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Edwin and Bessie hired a contractor by the name of William Simpson to rebuild the hotel, which he did using wood from the building that had been torn down in a nearby city called Conrad City. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. So the hotel was actually really quickly rebuilt and was then reopened in 1910. So it took them a year to rebuild it.
That's not bad.
8 years later, in 1918, the couple actually ended up acquiring a parrot named Polly. So super unique name. I know.
Yeah, really.
No one's ever heard of a parrot named Polly.
No.
So apparently the bird had actually been left behind by, like, I read at one point, someone said it was a visiting miner. Someone said it was like the captain of this ship. Anyways, it was somebody had been leaving this parrot with them, like I guess during the winters, and then they'd come back in the spring and like pick the parrot up.
Such a weird pet.
So exotic, especially for the time of like what time that was.
Yeah, in the Yukon.
Yeah.
Super weird.
Yeah. So anyways, the parrot was left behind because apparently the owners ended up perishing on the SS Princess Sophia, which was a boat that sank after grounding on the Vanderbilt Reef in Lynn Canyon near Juneau, Alaska. Apparently all 364 people on the ship ended up dying, which made that wreck of the Princess Sophia the worst maritime accident in the history of British Columbia and Alaska.
Wow.
Which, like, crazy little bit of info I figured to include because I thought it was interesting. Like, Never heard of that before. Kind of sad.
Yeah.
So Polly, the parrot, had been described as being surly, and as he swore a lot, bit people, sang opera, and would drink whiskey.
Oh my God. Sounds like a great time.
Right? Patrons of the bar would often soak crackers in their drinks and feed them to the poor bird and encourage it to swear.
Oh my God.
So, like, they weren't helping the situation.
No.
And apparently Bessie hated it, didn't want it to like be so crude, so she would try and like sing gospel to it, to like teach it gospel songs instead. However, the parrot basically outlived them all, and it lived till it was 126 years old when it passed away in 1972.
What?
Yeah, they live so long, like it's insane. But the fact that it like drank whiskey and it wasn't a very healthy sounding bird.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Maybe do you remember in the was it the Boozing Barber episode? Yeah, we said it was like pickled. The guy was like pickled.
Yeah.
Maybe the parrot also maybe.
That's true.
Wow.
Apparently the current owners of the hotel now actually renamed the bar portion of the hotel the Surly Bird Saloon in Polly's honor.
That's cute.
And like that bird got buried with like honors in like the Carcross Cemetery. It's got like a plaque and everything. Like it was like so much a part of that town and that like hotel and stuff. It's so cute.
That's crazy.
When Edwin Gideon died in 1925, Bessie ended up taking the reins and she ran the hotel until she died in the hotel on October 27th, 1933. So Bessie's sister, Louise Dawson, ended up inheriting the hotel, and then she managed it for 5 years after her sister's death. And then in 1939, Dawson Charlie's wife's son, sounds like a weird thing, but Dawson Charlie's ex-wife got remarried, had a son.
Okay.
Dawson Charlie was the one that died on the railroad, and she was like renting the place to the Gideons. Okay. So she ended up taking it back over, and then her son was in management up until he got like enlisted in the war, I think. So basically then it was just like passed from owner and owner from at that point on up until 1969, when a man named Archie Lang ended up purchasing or leasing the Caribou Hotel for a short period of time. And this is where I finally get into ghosts.
There's a lot of owners. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then it like stayed vacant, between years and stuff. Like I'm sure like towns up there like that, especially after the gold rush was over.
Oh yeah, like
didn't thrive.
Maybe not literally, but like
yeah. Well. All right. So this is Archie Lang's story. One night while staying at the hotel, Archie awoke to that strange feeling you get when like someone's watching you, which so creepy. He said he looked to the door and he saw what he thought was his housekeeper, Agnes, in his room. He called out to her saying, like, Agnes, it's like 3 a.m. Like, what are you doing in my room? Like, what? And she just like wasn't responding. And he says he admits he couldn't get out of bed because he didn't have any clothes on. So he just kind of like laid there and waited to see what she would do. Yeah, exactly. Like, Agnes, like, well, what's going on?
Get out.
Yeah. So apparently she stayed for a few moments near the end of his bed, just like staring at him, like staring down at him, and then left out the door without a word. Once she left, he kind of just jumped out of bed, like grabbed his sheets, like threw them around him, and he threw open the door, and she just like wasn't there. And he said there's no way like she could have just disappeared down the stairs. Like he either would have heard her or seen her. Like she couldn't have been that quick.
Right.
So he searched the whole hotel looking for her, but like couldn't find a trace. So he was like weirded out. So in the morning, Agnes's son actually had dropped by at like the bar portion, and he had kind of mentioned that he had a weird experience with Agnes's son's mom being like, why was your mom in my room last night? Like, and apparently Agnes's son was like, that's not possible.
Did she die?
No.
Okay. It's like, is this like one of those stories?
So cliche. No, he said that's not possible. She's been out of town visiting like friends and family. Like she's been gone for a week and she's not coming back for another like week or so. Like there's no way that could have been her. So the son, whose name is Johnny Johns, had been actually like I know, so unique. I'm wondering if it's like a nickname or something.
I hope so.
Actually, I feel like I need to say this because it's a funny story, but I had an old doctor. His parents named him this. Donald McDonald.
Oh no.
His name was Donald McDonald.
That's
so
horrible.
maybe Johnny Johns isn't, a nickname.
Yeah.
Who does that?
God.
So Johnny Johns, who is the son of Agnes, they had been locals there their whole life. And he was apparently quite famous. Like he was like a famous trapper and like tourism kind of guy. I don't know. And so he asked him to describe the woman he saw in the room. And Archie described like the woman. And Johnny said, without a doubt, it was Bessie Gideon, who previously owned the hotel and actually died in that very room he was staying in. Mm. So Archie hasn't been the only one to see Bessie's ghosts. Other ghosts, like she's multiple of her.
Who knows?
Good Lord, yeah. Others have reported similar sightings when staying in that room. So the room he was staying in is basically like what they call the owner's suite. Okay. And it's the only one with a balcony. If you ever look out the picture, there'll be like one little tiny balcony. And usually like the owners will live in it, but sometimes they'll rent it out.
Right.
So people report saying that a woman will stand at the foot of the bed just staring down at them and then they'll leave, just like his experience. Oftentimes it says like Bessie will begin to like run a bath or like put bubbles in a bath that's already running.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like people will come to their room and hear like the faucet running in like the tub, and like either it'll be like filling or it'll just be like on. People have seen her from like the outside standing in the window peering out at them, which like I don't know about you, anytime I like drive by an abandoned building or somewhere that's supposed to be haunted, I like stare at every window.
Yeah, try to see something.
Yeah. And oftentimes people will say like she'll actually have the parrot on her shoulder when she's standing in the window. Wow. Yeah.
Even though she hated it.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe she did convert it to a good Christian parrot. Other stories include phantom knocks on doors when like people are in their room and they'll open it and like no one will be on the other side. And then other people have mentioned seeing like a ghostly woman in a rocking chair. And then oftentimes like lights will turn on and off. Even one time they had the electricity disconnected because they were doing construction, and people walking by swore they saw lights on like the third floor. And the owners at the time were like, there's no way we've had the electricity turned off. Like,
weird.
Yeah. So in 1997, the hotel actually became property of a man named Bob Olson, who ran the hotel until 2004, when he was unfortunately brutally murdered. So now we get into a murder story.
This story has everything.
Everything, yeah. Bob was not really in a great place in his life just before his murder. He'd actually shut the hotel down and was kind of in the process of trying to sell it. Friends of his knew he was like in a downward spiral, and he would like often drink himself to the point of passing out, either on his pool table that was in the bar or just like in one of the couches on the hotel, even though like the hotel was empty and there was rooms upstairs. He just never quite made it all the way up.
Yeah.
It was actually Christmas Eve when two locals noticed that the bar doors were actually open. So they ventured inside to find a mess. Chairs and things were knocked over. Glass was shattered everywhere. Art was missing from the walls. There was a sink full of water that was like completely frozen, which kind of indicated that the doors had been open for a while because it was cold. Mm-hmm. And then most disturbingly of all, a dry pool of blood left on the floor with a footprint in it.
Oh, God.
And no Bob Olson to be found. Yeah. So 2 days later, Bob's body was actually found in a ditch near Whitehorse, which was about an hour's drive away. Also, I wrote this in here and I have to bring it up. This is so random and off topic, but did you know that it's such a Canadian thing to give direction in terms of like how long it'll take?
Yeah.
Like that's such a Canadian. Apparently, like if you ask
20
a Canadian
minutes down the road, yeah.
But like you ask like an American or like I don't know about a European or anything, but like if you ask anyone else, they'll say like, oh, it'll be like X miles or like this the distance.
Yeah,
like, I just think it's so funny.
Yeah,
because I wrote like, oh sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was there's a bunch of stuff like that on TikTok that like this is just a Canadian thing. I watched one the other day, and like. Clicks, like we use like it's like 30 clicks, and people don't know what that is. That's like a kilometer. Like people they don't use stuff like that. And I'm just like,
I feel like I don't hear that as much anymore.
Yeah, I feel like it. I mean, nobody asks for directions anymore. Everybody has
that's very true. So. Yeah. But yeah, as I was writing, because I went and looked up, because I was like, oh, where's Whitehorse in terms of car cross? And then I was like, oh, it's about an hour's drive away. And then I was like, why are we the only ones that do that? It makes the most sense to me to be like, that's how far away it is. Like,
yeah, I literally looked up car cross to Dawson City, which is where my story is. And I was like, oh, it's 6 hours. Okay. It's so funny.
I know. It was such an off topic. I couldn't help it because I'm like, do people know this? Because I didn't know this until recently.
Yeah, it's weird. Canadians are like their own breed.
We really are. So yeah, his body was found in that's such a dark segue. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. His body was found in a ditch near Whitehorse. Anyways, at first they thought Bob was just suicidal and was like binge drinking, because they had found his truck actually first stuck in a ditch like further down the road. And there was like blood in the car and like the stuff that was missing from his bar. And so they kind of just thought maybe he had like was on a binge, drinking, like ran his truck into a ditch and then like walked and like died of exposure or something. But actually it was a man had actually came and turned himself in, saying he was like involved. And then another anonymous call came in about another suspect who was actually trying to leave town after talking about murdering someone.
Okay.
Yeah. So the bloody footprint at the scene was actually linked to one of the men that was the suspects. And it was determined that poor Bob was actually beaten to death inside the hotel, like in the bar. So it wasn't mentioned like how the two men like met Bob or came in contact with Bob. Like it didn't really give much information on that. The story kind of goes that they were like so intoxicated that they don't remember parts of the night. Like during their trial, they're like, we don't even remember loading the body in the car, like, or the truck.
That's not something you'd forget.
Yeah. Right?
Like nice
try.
Like
I've had some blackout drunk nights, but there's parts I'd piece together. They claim that Bob actually attacked them first with like some piece of wood, like a wooden board or something, and that they were like defending themselves. However, there were other witnesses that night that claimed the men weren't drunk at all. So apparently at one point they were at like a gas station and they had like bloody hands from their bloody knuckles rather. And the gas attendant like made comments. They're like, why are your hands bloody? And like the guy claimed that he got into a fight with his sister, which I'm sorry. Why not call the cops?
Yeah, that's also
story.
Not good.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. So, neither of them really had matching stories to the night. And then they both basically refused to, in their words, rat each other out. Okay. They just seem like overall really bad people. And they murdered this man for what reason? I have no idea. Yeah. So that's the murder of the story that's involved. So I'm sure his ghost is going to haunt that place because I would. Yeah. So now in 2006, a couple named Jamie Toole and Ann Morgan actually ended up purchasing the hotel after it sat unoccupied after the few years.
Sorry, was that murder? You said 2003?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh my God, the whole time I was picturing like way long ago. I don't know why.
I know, right? Yeah, 2004 was when he was murdered. Okay. And then I guess it sat unoccupied for a couple years, like whenever I said 2006. Okay. And then this other couple bought it. And they've set out to restore the hotel back to its original state, like so that it looks identical to when it was rebuilt in 1910, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. But they too have had their own unexplained experiences since taking ownership. The biggest thing that they report is while being alone in the hotel, they can hear that they're not the only ones doing renovation to the building. Sometimes they'll often hear hammering or banging on the floorboards in the rooms above or below them. Like when they're not doing construction. That's and crazy. There's like they're saying like there's no explanation. It wouldn't come from next door. Like it sounds like it's coming from inside the house.
The call.
Yeah. So at one point, apparently, while they were repairing the floor, they had torn up like a floorboard and they were like peeking through and you could see like to the floor below. And they actually saw a man staring back up at them from the floor below, which God. they like say like, oh, it's just the old carpenter William Simpson who built the hotel originally, just kind of like watching them, making sure, yeah. And they suspect that it's his ghost that's like also doing the hammering and stuff.
It just wants to help out.
Yeah, exactly. During renovations,
that's nice and all, but imagine pulling up like
you think you're alone,
seeing a face staring back at you. No, thank you.
No. Yeah, during the renovations, they actually found that his name was like signed on the back of some like floorboards or pieces of wood and stuff, which I think is cool.
My dad does that.
I love that. You know what? We've done a few renovations, and I never thought to do anything like that. I should next time. Mm-hmm. As of today, the hotel is actually still being restored. So like quite a gap in time, like 2006 to 2000 and what are we now? 21. So I believe they have a plan that they're going to have the whole thing operational by 2021. So I think it's like nearly done.
Okay.
And it's also, I think I mentioned this before, it's considered a Yukon historic site now, which is great. Mm-hmm. And they actually even went on an episode of Dragon's Den in 2014.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I used to love that show. Like, oh my God. I don't know if they got any dragons to support them, but they were on the show. So, but yeah, so that was the wild ride of the saloon from the gold rush, the historic Caribou Hotel of the Yukon.
It sure was a wild ride. My God. Yeah. My story is the Palace Grand Theater, which is in Dawson City, Yukon, which, as I said, is, it's 6 hours and 57 minutes north-ish of, I'll do my sources super quick. I think I also mentioned this already too, but oh my God, what a pain in the ass it was to find sources for this. I've like exhausted every Google link possible.
I know. No one wants to tell us their stories.
No, and like everything was like, oh yeah, it's haunted. It's like, okay, tell me about it.
Yeah,
like, that's great.
That's literally everything too. Was like, this is the haunted,
the most haunted
hotel.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are the hauntings?
Yeah, tell me stories. Like, it's great that you say it, but I need proof. Okay, so Wikipedia, obviously. There's a YouTube video by Travel Yukon called Yukon Paranormal Episode 3. They did like a 3-part series about like, the most haunted places in the Yukon. It was kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
Called The Palace Grand, Ghosts of the Klondike, TravelYukon.com, Yukon News article. Yeah. Yukon News is like the name of the company.
That's one of
there's an article from October 2018 by Michael Gates.
I used Michael Gates too.
Did you? That's funny.
Yeah.
Yukon Nuggets, which I think you also used.
Yeah.
There's an article or like a post something, I don't know, called Dawson City in 1962 by Les McLaughlin.
I also used Les McLaughlin.
I think it's just very limited.
Thanks, guys.
So funny.
All the work
shout out to them.
Yeah.
And then there was an episode of a podcast called Nothing Ever Happens in Canada.
I love that.
It was called Klondike Kate Returns, kind of. It was like a little like bonus episode thing that she did.
Also, is it just me? Like, am I just like hungry that I'm like Klondike bar every time you say Klondike?
Yeah, that's what I think of every time too.
I'm like, yeah, I could go for one.
Yeah, actually, that sounds delicious. I have to do groceries after this, so maybe that'll Okay. The Palace Grand Theater was built in 1899 by a guy named Arizona Charlie Meadows, which is the best name I've ever heard in my life.
That is, I'm gonna write that one down for my
Apparently he was like buddy with Buffalo Bill in the States. Like,
what is with these names?
I don't know. It's great though.
It's just so hippie-ish for like pre-hippie times.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So 1899 was like the height of the gold rush. That was when everything was starting. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you know better than I do.
I mean, I'll take your word for it. I don't remember. Wasn't there.
Yeah. So it sounds so weird just calling him Arizona, but I think I called him Arizona or Arizona Charlie because I don't know what his name actually what his actual first name was.
Those could be those like made up names,
like Arizona in air quotes, Charlie Meadows, but I have literally no idea.
Yeah.
So he apparently used the lumber from 2 steamboats that he had bought to make the theater, which is really cool.
Okay, like my story had reused wood too. Like we love an environmental.
They had.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm giving them credit, but like that's what they had to do.
Yeah.
We're like, we love an environmental queen.
Yeah. Also, this building is absolutely gorgeous. Like it's been like redone and stuff obviously since, but I'm going to put pictures of it on the Instagram, and I'm going to put a picture of yours. Mm-hmm. It's so pretty. Like just the design of it. Oh my God. It's like a very simple building, but just the wood on it is so pretty.
Yeah, they go all out sometimes. Like
They really did. Yeah. The Palace Grand was considered the most elegant opera house in Dawson City. So Arizona Charlie, I don't know, was the master of ceremonies, and he held vaudeville variety shows, boxing and wrestling matches, charity fundraisers, auctions, political rallies, public meetings, and even sacred concerts on Sundays. So that's great. It was kind of just like a catch-all for like every gathering possible.
I love that. Like, I think the hotel I did was basically like a gathering place too for like events and like big things. It's just, like, there's always one in a town.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Dawson City too, like, I don't know 100%, but I think this kind of was kind of what you're talking about too. Like, it was just kind of, they like built the city like during the gold rush.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of like a ghost town now. Yeah, like it's still there, but it's very tiny now. So Arizona Charlie also performed at the Palace, and one time he was showing off his shooting prowess. Oh my god, I can't say that word. Prowess?
You said it right the first time, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he ended up shooting off the tip of his wife's finger.
Oh no.
Just trying to show off. And that's what he did.
I'd be so pissed.
Oh my god, I know, right? Anyway, so that's just a bit of backstory on our lovely Arizona Charlie. So as far as ghost stories are concerned, from what I could find, so custodians that have worked at the Palace like in the last however long have reported seeing a light on in one of the rooms, and then when they go up to check on it, there's actually no lights on, and there's like nobody else in the theater.
That's
classic ghosts.
Yeah. They love to turn lights on.
Yeah, they sure do. There's also reports of like footsteps being heard on multiple occasions. It's usually on the third floor and by the balconies of the theater. The smell of roses or rose water is also said to be smelled. It's a weird word. Coming from Arizona Charlie's designated box in the theater. So I guess that was like his signature scent was like roses or rose water.
I love that smell, so like I don't blame him.
Yeah, like could be worse.
Yeah.
There's also one woman that works. I don't know if she currently works or she worked like recently. This is part of that one video. She works at the theater, and one evening she was on a break and she decided to go up and watch the show from the first balcony, and she was just all by herself up there. And then after one of the performances, the musician that was playing came over to her and asked who she was standing with to watching the performance. And she's like, nobody, like I was alone. What are you talking about? And he like insisted that there was a man in dark pants, a white shirt, a vest, and a jacket standing right beside her watching the show. It's crazy that like he literally like he saw all that detail.
Yeah.
So it must have looked like an actual human was like standing there. That's crazy.
I wonder if like, because like our peripheral vision's like so good, like either he wasn't like manifesting to her or like she just was not paying attention. Like that's so crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Like I'd be terrified if I heard that.
Yeah.
Okay. this just shows how hard it was to find information on this. A commenter on a video on Vimeo.
Poor Vimeo.
I know, right? Like who even uses that?
Yeah.
So the video is just about the Palace Grand, and the commenter said, I live right next door to the Palace Grand, and my roommate, who was a musician, used to tell me that he would wake up to hear a woman singing in his room on the nights that he played guitar before bed. Once I woke up terrified because I felt something/someone sitting on the foot of my bed. We all thought/joked that it was Klondike Kate coming by. Klondike Kate. So this is
who's
like,
Klondike Kate?
This is the majority of the research that I actually could find about this.
Okay.
So Klondike Kate was born Kathleen Rockwell on October 4th. Nobody knows what date it actually was. It was either 1873, 1876, or 1880.
Classic woman not giving her real age.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So she was born in Junction City, Kansas. So I guess she also lived in North Dakota. She grew up in Spokane, Washington, and she was a dancer and vaudeville star during the Klondike Rush.
Do you ever like hear stories of these old women or men, like everyone, and you're like, they've lived more lives than I'll ever have?
Yeah, literally. Like this woman is so interesting. I guess there's like a movie called Klondike Kate, and I really want to watch it. It's like a Western.
Like, this sounds so. I feel like I know her story, or I'm just thinking of like the plot of Holes.
Yeah. What was her name? It was Kate something too, wasn't it?
Kristin Kate, I think.
Yeah, Kissing Kate. Yeah, you're right. That's totally what I think of too.
I think I'm mixing the movie.
And then they ate onions
and everything was fun. And you're like, you're just telling me the story of holes, aren't you now?
Yeah. There were these weird lizard things.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf was there. Like, I don't know.
Shoes are involved somehow.
Yeah, there's a boat called the Mary Lou.
Now I want to watch that movie.
I know, it's such a good movie. I love that.
It is, yeah. Anyways,
Klondike
Kate.
So she came from a wealthy family, but there was quite a bit of tension at times. I guess her parents were divorced, and like she had a stepfather that was not
Join
the
the
best
club
and stuff.
No, actually, I love my stepdad.
So she was known for her independent spirit, and she often impersonated boys and played with like little boys rather than little girls when she was a kid.
Oh, tomboy.
Yeah. So she was, I guess, in high school sent to boarding school, but she was expelled. I don't know why she was expelled, but I love it.
Yep. I feel like we can piece these together.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kathleen and her mom moved to New York City in the 1890s after she had her second divorce from her second husband. And in New York, she tried to start like a career in show business, but I guess it failed. So she ended up moving to Alaska in 1899.
Good Lord.
And again, at this time, the Klondike Gold Rush was like in full force. So she decided to try to make her way to the Yukon from Alaska. And the RCMP, I guess, stopped her at the border at one point because she was like trying to go and be like
an unwed woman.
Yeah, how dare she?
Yeah.
So she dressed up like a man and jumped on the boat to get into the Yukon.
I love her.
Yeah, I know. Like she's so sick. I love her.
Oh my God.
So when she was in Canada, she worked as a tap dancer in Whitehorse, and she eventually made her way to Dawson City, where she worked at the Savoy Theatrical Company.
I thought you were going to say theater, like so fancy. I was like, why are we getting fancy? At the theater.
She's like possessing me.
Yeah. She's coming through. I can feel it.
Yeah. I'm going to start talking like that the little boy in that show.
I hate that part of that show so much.
It's so embarrassing to watch.
Oh, so bad.
Okay, so Kate's act was really popular with the miners, which sounds weird, but like the gold, the gold.
She did
miners.
like little boys, yeah.
And she was quickly given the nickname Klondike Kate, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So when the gold rush was dying out, by about 1902, she moved south to BC and then eventually back to America, where she settled in Oregon.
Oh, I wonder where in BC.
I don't think it said exactly where.
Probably not, yeah.
I don't know. They were like focusing more on the Oregon thing because that's where she ended up dying.
Oh.
So she died in Sweet Home, Oregon, which is adorable, on February 21st, 1957. So people in Dawson City knew right away after she had passed because they could hear her singing and laughing at the Palace Grand, and they could smell her perfume.
That's crazy. Of all the places that woman has been and lived and done, like, it's always crazy when they're like, and then they returned to this place.
Yeah, like all the way back in the Yukon.
Yeah. She was in New York. I mean, there's cool places in New York to haunt.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe, I mean, always, like, I don't know, but it could be just that she like found success there and she was like actually happy because
that's true.
It seemed like she had the best life until she
moved. And it's beautiful up there. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to go there.
Yeah, let's haunt there.
Yeah.
So many employees have also reported seeing Kate from time to time. In 1961, the palace was under construction, and construction workers reported seeing a, quote, very pretty lady appearing on stage and then walking off stage, and then she would disappear as soon as she got off stage. So that's kind of cool. I mean, it'd be terrifying to see, but it's cool to hear about.
Yeah.
She keeps to the second floor of the Palace Grand for the most part because that's where her dressing room was when she performed.
Aww.
A young couple were staying at the Palace Grand. I guess they were like, they like snuck in and they were staying there when it was under construction.
Tisk tisk.
Yeah. And they reported hearing a woman crying even though the building was empty.
Ooh, that's spooky.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Children laughing and women crying.
Women crying.
I'm out.
Yeah. Children crying, you know, it's your.
Oh my God, that's the double whammy.
So they went to try to find like where the sound was coming from, and nobody was there. And then an hour after that, they were woken up by laughter, conversation, and like really, really old country music playing from the second floor. God. And they thought that it was Klondike Kate.
Oh my God. I guess like that's what ghost hunters and investigators do, is like they investigate the sound. But like every time I hear that, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why did you go towards the like
I would
ghostly crying? Yeah. I'd be out.
Mm-hmm. I know we keep talking about like how when things go back to normal, we want to go and do like an episode at Chateau Laurier and stuff. And I'm like,
the last 5 minutes. Because we'll be like, did you hear that? And then we'll just like get in our heads.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it'd be cool. We could do it during the daytime.
Yeah.
And not try to investigate. But
you just don't stir up any dark things.
Yeah. We're here with, what is it? Light and love.
Yeah. I don't take any of this darkness with me. Whatever people say.
Who knows? Too much of a wimp.
Yeah. Every time I like come across scary TikToks, people say that like they're like, I don't claim any of this dark energy or whatever. And I'm like, that's gonna work.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, the ghosts are like, gotta go through these TikTok comments to see who I can and cannot haunt.
Anyway, that's the Yukon for you.
That I love those stories. Like Klondike Kate, she sounded like a badass. Like
I know. I actually there's pictures of her too, so I'm gonna put a picture of her.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Instagram.
In happier news, though, I got my gender results. I know it doesn't matter, but we wanted to know, and it's a boy. We're having a boy.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah. I mean, we still don't have boy names, so I'm like freaking out. And he's like, "We still have a few months." I'm like, "No, I need to prepare."
He needs a name now.
He needs a name. Yeah. Like some people just like wait until the kid's born. I don't think I could do that.
Oh my God. I work with a girl actually who's this is her third pregnancy. Like she's pregnant right now, and they always wait to find out the gender of their kid until it's born. And I'm like, how do you do that?
I don't think I could. Like, it's not like it's changing anything. Like, I'm not buying gender specific toys.
Yeah.
The room's already painted. It's, colorful and stuff. But I just need to know. Yeah. I just want to know. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm way too impatient. I could never wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard another girl when I was at the ultrasound appointment saying that she was going to wait. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I guess like, yeah, it was her. Maybe it was the same woman. It was like her third child or something. But I was like, how could you? Like in my head, because I don't talk to people.
Yeah. What are we talking about next week?
True crime. I think we're back to true crime.
Yay.
I have a couple different stories I might want to cover. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what I end up with.
I haven't even started, so I'll have to figure that out.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening so much. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and smash that like button.
Smash it. Also, we have a Facebook group now, which it's very new. I haven't really done anything on it yet because I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
And then I made like a Twitter too, and obviously Instagram.
Yeah. So follow whatever all the youths say. The youths. The youths. Anyways, yeah. So until next time,
keep on creeping on.